Alrighty. Week whew, 5. Week 5, which really means 4 weeks left. Okay. So today we're going to talk about how this week coming up is different in two ways. We're going to talk about some of the MyITLab challenges that some of you ran into with the first lab test and preview the work that you have coming up for week 5. Okay. It's a full agenda today, everybody. Hang on tight. So let me get rid of me. So the first thing is that next week, there's two things. First is that on the 10th is the last day to drop this class and get a W. If you are still in this class after next Wednesday, you will get a grade. Now, the chances are if you're listening to this, you're probably doing fine. It's the students who aren't here yet have a little bit, there's probably anyway, they're probably the ones that they are the ones that need to hear this, but I'm going to tell you as well because I think it's important to understand that the last date to drop this class with a W is next Wednesday. Now, the following day, the Thursday, is actually a campus holiday that I did not have on the schedule. So I'm going to show you what I do in that case is I move the due dates forward. So I'm going to move everything that's normally on Thursday night to Friday night. But then I'm going to be honest with you, right? I won't grade that Saturday morning, right? Just doesn't happen. I will grade it Monday morning. Now, but what that also means is that the Monday night items don't get moved. So make sure if you are taking advantage of this one day, which I really dislike holidays in the middle of the week. I think it's crazy not to put them on the beginning and ending, but I don't control the world. I just live in it. Okay. So, oh, me, get out. Okay. So, FYI about that. Okay. So, what you have coming up this week, though, is really two topics of importance: internet speed and digital information and fact checking. And this is where, well, let's start with this one. Like most people, this is probably one of the most asked topics for me when I'm out in the general population of people who know what I teach for a living. They ask me about internet speed, and then I tell them, "Do you know your internet speed?" And they don't. And I tell them, "Go to your favorite search engine. I don't care what it is, or use an app and type internet speed test and hit run." Now on the write up, there'll be a different one. Now my internet speed is very fast. Given that I'm not on fiber, fiber is the fastest, pretty much fastest type of connection, although there are some that are starting to compete with it. So in this case, there's two numbers that come out. One is your download and one is your upload speeds. And this is the one that really affects you as you're browsing, as you're streaming things off the web. This one affects you when you're uploading things, which I do, like this video. When I record it, I'll upload it, and then it will be if this number comes into effect. So most people don't care as much about this one as somebody like me might, but almost everyone, this is the most important number. But what's also important is to understand based on different locations and different types of devices, right? So in this for this discussion, we'll have you kind of break it down into like your home internet, mobile internet, then public internet, right? And I want you, and you'll give some data. Remember, and this is what I want to say about the discussions is that remember, you do not want to number and just answer the questions. That's not college level writing. That's not substantive writing. So let me bring this up because I don't think I've said it. So I need to say it now. This class, because it transfers on to meet either a basic graduation requirement or a degree requirement, a transfer requirement, has a writing element, which means most all classes that have this have to have some kind of formal writing. Most classes will do a report. This class does not have a report. These weekly discussions are that for this class. So make sure you're writing substantive, you're checking your writing, you're doing substantive replies. If you see me in my feedback say, you need to write more substantive, you're just not writing enough. of the topics that are required to be covered. And I lay out those in each item. Okay. So let's go, just since we're here, and talk about it real quick for this one. And this is our week 5. And actually, I'm recording this video for the second time because I forgot to mention some of those really important things there. So on the internet speed, right? You want to, and this gives you this website. I think this is fine. I typically use Ask Google for testing my internet speed, but right. Uh, so So choose the set of question that matches your connection that you are testing for, right? It's okay to choose more than one, but if you feel most like you want to know more about your home, right, then write a narrative, a paragraph about this. If you want to know about mobile internet, right, write about this. And this should say 5G now, right? And then a public internet, then right, choose that. Are you using, the campus is a public internet site. So the thing I'd like to say to you though, and this is just in general, like I hear people go, ooh, free Wi-Fi, or maybe what they mean is open Wi-Fi, meaning you can get on it and you don't have to have a password, and they get excited. That should not be the response you have. The response you have should be, free Wi-Fi, open Wi-Fi. Wonder why. And I typically will not access Wi-Fi. And I don't ever actually access Wi-Fi that is not secured in some way. Your network in your home should be secured. Most of them come default these days, which is great. So don't turn it off. Leave it on. Make sure you have a strong password. We'll talk about that in a later discussion. But I just want to say that, right? So now that's for, I keep showing up here. That's for the first item this week. And then the second item this week is I mean, it is probably more important in this sense, that it is something that as a society we are really dealing with, right? Digital information and fact checking. So the idea here is to watch this video or watch this crash course about how to navigate digital information, and then how to do fact checking. And this gives you a process, right? Um, and I'm not going to tell you this is 100%, but it definitely gives you things that you want to look for when you're evaluating information. So step 3 is really the step where you're doing the work. So I want you, something you've either heard or saw on social media, and follow this process and evaluate the information. And then I'd like to post your observations through the truthfulness of the statements, right, of that statement in our discussion. Now, this is where, because we have such a heated social situation on many different topics. I mean, it's like I feel like people are not only in one camp, they're probably in a variety of camps, right? It's like, and I have found for myself, I'll just speak for myself now, that the more I talk to people who I don't necessarily agree with, the better I am, and I feel like the better we are. And I think we used to be able to, and I say used to, and how long ago was that? But used to navigate this either by never talking about certain things, or being able to respect somebody who's got a different opinion than you do. And I think we've lost that for a variety of reasons. And social media has definitely been, I'm not going to completely blame it because we're the ones using it and you have to ask yourself. But, some of the things that have come out, especially about Facebook lately, really makes you go, Hmm. Even that we need to evaluate and understand, which most people are like, I don't have the time to do that. I got enough of a life to deal with. I don't have time. But here's what happens is because we don't, being a citizen requires time. Now, that's really related to how we get involved and understand the way our government works. But coming back to this, so here's my edict to you, right? It's okay to disagree. Don't be disagreeable, but just keep it civil, right? And respect that not everyone believes the way you do, and it's okay that people believe otherwise. Most importantly about this assignment is be willing to learn about ways that you can help validate things that you've heard. Okay, so now that's the work for this week. This week is our last week of Excel simulation, which means next week just to say it right, next week, right, we're going to actually have a lab test. So our next lab test is here next week, which leads me to something that I just need to refer back to, is that I tried to, as much as I try to give you the heads up and tell you what's going on, many of you still wait until the last minute, which, is your choice. But here's what happens is if you run into issues, I can't really help you. I can't help you actually, and this is where I'd hope Discord would have been a thing that helped. But I've noticed for this class, for whatever reasons, again, it's okay, but students are not active on. I've had one student be active on Discord, and I appreciate that student posting. And actually, in that student's case, they had actually started on the lab test the week before, ran into an issue, they were able to reach out to our local tech support on campus, and then they reached out to me, and all of us together eventually figured out what the issue was. So, but if you're waiting until the last minute, especially on these lab tests, yes, this is why I'm telling you, because in week 6 you have your next one. Okay. So just, whenever possible, working ahead is always a great option. So now over in my IT lab, I do want to say something because several of you mentioned something about, well, I think I got something right on the lab test, but it didn't show, right? So I want you to know that what I showed you was true for the training and exams, where you can view, and I'm bringing this back for both reasons actually, like in these simulations for both the training and the exam, after you take them, and I again just submitted this so I could look at it, but anytime after you first submit this, on the place that you have been going to create your PDF files, right, for your submissions, right, where you go and you create them, all right, I think it's here. But if it's not, I think it might be on submission. It might be on your grade. So it's moved a little bit. But here's my point of why I'm here is actually look what happens. Each item you get step by step and you get alternative methods. Now, this is on the training and the exam. So if you're running into an issue where something appears not to be working, the great thing about having this content is that you can always try an alternative item, an alternative method. Actually, this might look a little different for you than it does for me, but you still have access to the same. You have access to the same information where you create your PDF. Okay, so look for it. If you can't find it, let me know. I'll make sure. They may have changed something, but I don't think they did. And here's my point. So you can do this after you submit the training and the exam the first time. But this is also true for the lab test. And some of you were wondering, well, I thought I got that right. And then you asked me about it. And my question back to you is always going to be, did you look at the detail? Because again, MyITLab on the lab test, on the training and exams, gives you a huge amount of detail. So if you come down into exams where we took this, right? And then you come into the lab test, which, by the way, the Excel one, right? I don't recommend taking it until we get through it, but it's here as well. Now, you guys saw me just submit it last week just to give you this, but if you do view submissions, these 3 little dots, view submissions, then here what happens is when you click on submissions, this shows you, and this is where you created that PDF file that you needed to submit to me by hitting print. But here's what I want you to know. There's a couple things here. First, you can down arrow on each one of these, and it'll give you the detail of what you missed. Now, if you feel like you can make a case that in your submission file you did this work that you can show me, I'm open to a discussion. Do know you can also there's a couple other documents here. You can get a download of the file that you've submitted. You can get live comments on the report, so you could actually check out any of these. Matter of fact, if you were to open it up, right, it actually gives you, here's where the detail of where it marked you off is, where it lives. Okay. So I want you to know, if you're saying to me through either submission or through email, I feel like I got that right. My thing would be, have you reviewed this? If yes, can you show me the document where you feel you've done it? right? Do those steps, look at some of this other content. Once you feel like, yes, I did it, and for some reason it's not, then I'll be happy to do that. But I just need you to do your part first. Okay. Okay, so I think I've talked about, I've talked about the items that we have. I've talked about the stuff that's coming at you. I've talked about the discussion, so you got an idea about those. I talked about the college level writing. That make sure you're doing that piece. And the last thing I will say, and I said it before about this coming week coming up, is last day to drop. Last day, or this is a campus holiday. Items are moved. I definitely recommend keeping on schedule, because if you take advantage of what I'm saying in this video, right, and you don't do them, which by the way, I'm going to check them first thing Monday morning, right? So these are not due until Monday night. So first thing Monday morning, I'm going to grade these items, right? They will be late at that point. Okay. So don't, because then you also have to have these done as well. Okay. All right. So as always, I will also release week 6. I'll go over it, make sure the content's ready to go, but I do release it at the same time. All right. Have a fabulous, wonderful weekend. It is beautiful. Oh my God. So hard to be in the house when it is so beautiful outside. All right. Week 5, which means we have 4 weeks left in this class until the end of the semester. All right. If you're watching this and you're in the actual week before we move into it, good for you. Okay. Oh, actually, like throw a little nugget here at the end. Some of you have already figured this out. If you run into an item that you just don't want to do, you want to do other work and then maybe come back to it later, you can also just, like if it's a MyITLab, you can just submit a file. You can even say in there, I'm doing this to move on. Some of you have already figured this out, but I thought, you know what? It doesn't hurt to tell you that this is true, that you can do this. It's not the way I intend it to happen, but also it's okay, right? But try to keep on track with the task in the order of I place them. But if for some reason you want to move out of that order, just know that that option is there, but it will still be a 0. If it's late, it's 25 percentage of the points possible off. Okay. Enough from me. Have a good one. Bye.